situations very much like this in different parts of India. But people live really in abject poverty. Now, the beginning of this project. In 1982, a very active member of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul went to visit his daughter in Dominican Republic, who was volunteering at a school in this area, San Jose de Ocoa region. And Jack is tremendously impacted by what he sees. He comes from Long Island. He's actually a policeman on Long Island and a member of the society, and lived a fairly comfortable middle-class life, as many of us do. And this was his first real face-to-face encounter with poverty, and it affects him deeply. So Jack goes home and reflects and prays about this, and just says to himself, I have seen this, I'm responsible for it now, I know about it, I have to do something. And so in 1984, Jack returns, and as we say, the rest is history. Now, the visionary local pastor is very much a part of this story. This is Father Lou Quinn, deceased now, as also is Jack, also deceased recently, 2 years ago. So Father Louis Quinn is the longtime pastor, Canadian priest, loves the people deeply in the region, but also is a visionary pastor. And Jack is visiting him and makes contact with Father. And Father Quinn says something to him that is absolutely key, and it's key for systemic change. Jack says, or Father Lou says, Jack, don't do for the people, but help them do it themselves. Help the people. Don't do things for them. Help the people to do it. And so there we find perhaps a first seed of systemic change, to involve the people at every stage of the process. And you'll hear much more about that when we analyze the strategy. But this is very important. It is not, systemic change does not happen if people from the top decide what will be good at the bottom. The people have to be involved at every step of the process. And so Jack wisely consults the people and says, what is the biggest need? What is the biggest problem? And everyone says, clean water. Water for sanitation, water for health, water for farming. We need available, drinkable water. And so Jack begins to work with the people. This is in the 80s. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul, there's our band, very much involved in this project. The local members of the society, we're very proud of that. And then I was sent down in the 90s to work with Jack and to consult the people, because Jack, this is amazing, Jack had about 12 words in Spanish. It was amazing to me. He couldn't really talk to the people. But the people sensed, as often happens, they sensed that he had a very good heart, and he had a heart for the people. And so I learned again that ultimately, well, language is very important. Culture and acceptance of people is much more important. And so Jack was able to be in tune with the culture of the people. And in spite of the language difficulty, he was able to communicate somehow. It was amazing. So, since the Society on Long Island wondered if the money that we raised was being well spent, and Jack couldn't talk to the people really, they asked me to go down and take a look. And I was able to say, thanks be to God, the money is not spent, it's invested in people, because this project is successful. So, we were able, Father Lou Quinn was able to get the government to approve the project. The government did very little. Maybe this sounds familiar. The government did very little for the people of Ocoa, but of course they needed to approve the project. Jack raised money through the society on Long Island for technical consultation and for the initial supplies. That's all. They didn't pay labor, as you'll see. They started small. There were 100 villages. They took 5. And what they said was, the 5 villages, this is stated wrong, the 5 villages would work to bring water to one village. So the other 4 villages had to work for that one village. They wouldn't get water, just the first one. And then those 5 would bring water to the second, and then all 5 to the third. Very slow, careful process. Another seed of systemic change, what we said, people involved at every step, and you must secure, as Father Poloni said about money, you must secure sufficient resources to sustain the project. So the first initial seeds of systemic change are there. What was the goal? To provide drinkable water, potable water, to all of the villages of the Alcoa community, little by little. So what was the process? First of all, they tapped into a spring of pure water at the mountain top. They discovered a stream, the water was evaluated, perfectly clean water. So they had the source. They secured then these water tanks. They're located in various parts, but mostly at the top of the mountain. And then they connected a pipeline of heavy plastic tubing leading from the tanks of water down the mountain, as I will show you. And this created a teachable moment. As people offered their physical labor, it became combined with education and capacity building for community development. Now, these villages did not communicate one to another, yet this process brought them together. And so they were able to educate farmers not to burn the land after harvesting, which was the common practice, because it just made everything drier. They were able to expand the cooperative by building trust, one village with another. As they worked together, the bonds grew, and the distance between one village and another was made negligible, because now they were working together. They educated farmers about terrace planting of crops, to plant them in to do the planting in tight horizontal rows to protect the soil, prevent soil erosion, and to form natural barriers. So this was new to many of the farmers. But because they were working together on the water, they were open to sit down and learn new things, which before they wouldn't do. They prepared an aqueduct and did irrigation work. They prepared water purification plants, small ones in different places along the mountain to ensure that the water would always be pure. They built latrines, which is so important for good health. They taught the people to build more sanitary latrines, and they began to build them, one village and another. They replaced ultimately the thatched roofs of people's homes with zinc, and repaired some of the dirt floors with cement. But all of this stemmed from the fact that the people were able to work together on a new project. And they created more varied home gardens for better nutrition. All of this came about from this project. Now, this is what it looks like today. And I want to make a comment about this. Take a look. This is the heavy tubing coming down the mountain, bringing water one village to another. Crisscrossing the mountain. Now, people in the first world, in the developed world, would say, it's very haphazard. It's very disorganized. What is this? But I must tell you, for the people of Alcoa, this is heaven. This is heaven. This is the first time they have potable, clean water available to them within their own village. Common spigots for all to participate with. One or two, depending on the size of the village. But to a first world eye, you look at all that tubing and you say, could this be better done? Well, the government was not going to do anything. And to the people of Ocoa, that tubing, up and down, is a beautiful sight. And so, water is available for agriculture. These are some of the people. 100 villages emerged from poverty, and this is why we call the story, this is the perfect storm. Because three things came together. With the collaboration of a visionary priest who said, don't do for the people, do with the people. It will last longer, it will be sustainable, they will own the project, they will take care of the project. It is theirs. So the visionary preached the local community that worked one village helping another. They learned to do that for the first time. And the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, which provided the initial resources. And then stepped back and let the local people, the society, the cooperative, and the rest of the people work out the project. The perfect storm. Coming together of the three elements. And then, finally, once the water was available in all of the villages, then they began to plant seedlings to reforest the mountain. So they would rebuild all of those trees on the mountain that they had cut down for firewood, rebuild, and therefore, with more trees, there would be more rainfall, and now that stream is really turning back into the Ocoa River. And so this is the final picture of those seedlings which are about to be planted up and down the mountain. When I visited in the 90s, they were initiating this process. So, systemic change. Some of the strategies. And I'll just mention them because we will be developing the strategies during this workshop. They implemented several key strategies. First of all, and we Vincentians, I think, understand and believe this, that poverty is not inevitable. Poverty is forced on many too many people throughout the world. But it need not be inevitable. The design flowed from Vincentian values. If these people of Ocoa are God's children, as St. Vincent said once, we must help them to have a life worthy of a child of God, so that they can believe the message of the gospel. A profound respect for the local culture. This did not bring in 10 experts from the United States to tell the people what to do. No. The culture of the people was respected, and the people were led to develop this process and implement it. The vision addressed a serious human need. In fact, the number one need that the people identified, clean water. It's self-sustaining and it's holistic because once they had the water, then their health improved, nutrition was better, farming was better, every aspect of their life improved. And they developed a deep sense of community solidarity, which has led to a growth in the cooperative. And now they're able to eliminate what we call the middleman. And the cooperative takes the crops grown in Ocoa and sells them to market directly, which means that the farmers have more money in their pocket. And they promoted that community solidarity to the people. So, that's my story. No. That's my story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. And what a good story it is. Ellen?
Thank you very much, Jim. Hello, everybody. Now, for the next 45 minutes, it's going to be your turn to talk. Okay. Now, I have to tell you three things, because during this whole session, I'm going to be responsible for your talking. Right? That's my job this week. Apart from one thing, I'm responsible for making you talk to each other and then to us. So I have three rules. One is, if I ask you a question, usually it's a yes or no question, on every occasion, I'd like you to say, yes, Helen. So can you practice? Yes, Helen. Can you practice? Yes. Thank you. Now remember that, because that could be very important. The second thing is, you must always do exactly what I ask you to do. Okay? Always. Because otherwise we won't get talking. And the third thing is about time. And mostly, that's what I will be asking you to do, is to keep to time. Thank you, sister. You learn very well. Does everybody agree with sister? Yes. Thank you. So, keeping to time is important. Now, Joe said that already today. And you all notice I have a beautiful smile. And I'm a really lovely person. But I'm also very bossy. That doesn't apply to the commission. Okay. So, with those three rules, always say yes, Helen. Do what I ask you, and keep to time. Those are the only three rules for the next 3 days, and that means that we will be able to share together as fruitfully as possible all of our thoughts. Okay, so Sister is well ready now for me to tell you exactly what we'd like you to do. Now, before we get to that, your folder. You've all got your folders with you, I hope? Yes. Well, that wasn't bad for a start. Okay, so can you turn your folder over to the back? Right to the very back of the folder. No, turn it right over, upside down, on the back, to the back. And you'll find a number. Have you got a number? Yes. Okay. If you've got number 1, can you put your hand up? If you have number 1, some of you haven't found it. Has everybody got a number on the back of their folder? Yes. Has anybody not got a number? Okay. If you have number 1, can you put your hand up? Very high. Thank you. Brilliant. If you have number 2, can you put your hand up? And number 3. And number 4. And number 5. And number 6. And number 7. And number 8. And number 9. And number 10. Thank you. We have 10 groups. Now, unless we tell you otherwise, those are the groups for the next couple of days. So if you're going to work in groups, you stay with the same group. There are 2 times when we'll ask you to do something different from that, and we'll let you know. Everyone all right so far? Yes. Okay, now somebody here is going to tell me where our sister. Sister's going to tell you, before we get into the detail of what we want you to do, Sister will tell you where the groups are going to meet, because I don't know the building well enough. Would you like to come up? Thank you.
For lack of space, we have to do some adjustment. Group number 1, 2, 3 and 4 will have discussion here. We have to do some arrangement. Group number 5 and 6 will be in the chapel, that is in 2nd floor. This is 3rd floor. 2nd floor has group number 5 and 6. Group number 7 also is in 2nd floor. There is a lounge. And number is put on the door, so you will find it without much difficulty. Group number 8, 9 and 10 in the hall, that is on first floor. 3 groups will be in the small hall.
Thank you very much, Sister. That's very helpful. Now, obviously, because this is the first time you will have met, you might take a little time. Do you need to come back? Oh, yes, okay. For the first time, you might take a little time to find your room and all of that. I will let that happen this time. But the next time you meet, you have to get there quickly. Okay. After you've heard the story, you heard the story of San Jose de Alcoa from Jim just a moment ago. We would like you to focus a little bit in your groups now on that story. And on the board here, I'm just going to go through it with you, what we would like you to do. And Sister has a sheet for every group that she will give in a few moments when you're leaving. So, in your discussion group, we would like you to answer these 3 questions. What made the San Jose de Alcoa project succeed? What made it succeed? What are its most significant outcomes? Now, Jim gave you a few, but you might not have agreed with him, or you may think of more. Or you might think his are okay. So what for you are its most significant outcomes? And in your understanding, what makes this a systemic change project? Those are the things we'd like you to talk about around those areas. Okay, the second thing then is what we would like you to tell us. So in your group, you need to appoint somebody who will write for you. You've got the notebook in your folder. So we would like you to write down 2 significant outcomes that your group thought were the most significant outcomes of the story, of what happened to the people in San Jose de Alcoa. 2 significant outcomes. Only 2 because there are 10 groups, and it means we can come to a consensus about which 2 everybody here thinks are the most significant. And then 1 reason why you think this is a systemic change project. Only 1, because we're at the beginning of the week. At the end of this session, we expect you to find 20, okay? But because we're beginning today, just 1 reason why this is a systemic change project. Now, what we were going to ask you to do is to come back and report those back to us before coffee. But instead of that, what we would like you to do is to write down your answers and to give them to Kerry, here in the stand-up Kerry, so they remember who you are. Give them to Kerry when you come back to the hall. Because by the time you've done all that, it will be coffee time. And because it's your first meeting, we don't want to rush you. And then we will look at them and we will tell you this afternoon how you got on. Okay? But that's the only time we're going to do this because we want to hear your voices. So the next, when we have another group this afternoon, we're going to ask you to come back and talk to us yourself. Everybody understand? Yes. Okay. So Sister has this on a piece of paper for each group. Perhaps if we leave the group, if the groups leave in reverse order. So group 10, if you could leave first and collect your paper from Sister, and 9, 10 and 9. Okay, 10 and 9. Somebody collect the paper from Sister. Keep an eye on the time because it's coffee at 10:30. So if you're not back at 10:30, you miss your coffee, right? 10:30 coffee. 10 and 9 have gone. 8, 7, 6 and 5. Groups 5, 6, 7 and 8. And then 1, 2, 3, and 4 are staying here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay.